Hello again, YouTube, and welcome back to Reading Too Much Things reviews of Jyuoh and Ghost. Man, I stumbled over that quickly. Let's dive in with Jyuoh episode 13, Sancho no Mokugekisha. Think I pronounced that right? The Summit Eyewitness. And, as you might notice, this episode easily fits as a filler, but personally I'd rather not have Toby on to do these reviews 2 weeks in a row. Plus, there's a special reason I'm taking the reins on this one. Our episode opens with this clip. There it is.
Yabe. Kawaii.
Well, sound like a serial killer there with that line read.
Yuri-chan.
Hi.
Yuri. Oh, namae mo kawaii na, oi.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
This isn't gonna end anytime soon. And Toei's gonna likely complain since I'm using so many clips from the show. Point is, Yuri here was up mountain hiking with her club and saw Bird Kaiser near the top, where rests a large axe-shaped rock, hence the mountain gaining its name. However, instead of focusing on the plot, my attention they're going fully out of their way to make Leo creepy in this episode. Or they heard my joke and decided to double down on making him Sanji. I call foul if he suddenly reveals he's a master chef.
俺たちにとってすごく大事な人なんだ。
いえ、お役に立てばいいんですけど。
Now that is a real good moment. Did you catch that? Not the back and forth between Yamato and Yuri. That's unimportant. Anmu in the background, though. I didn't notice it the first time through, but that is... That is real good direction. That is paying attention to the fact that people in the background are still in the scene. Making sure that Anmu is actually active and noticing that the two are talking. Noticing that Yuri seems really happy when she's talking with Yamato. That's good directing. Which makes the choice to make Leo seem as creepy as he is this episode seem even more deliberate and even more questionable. So they head out to the mountain, Yuri included, and...
Yuri, 荷物重くね。俺持つぜ。
あ、いえ、こういうのは自分で持たないと。
おい、遠慮すんなよ。じゃあ。
ちょっと、
一気に尾の岩まで連れてってやるぜ。何してんだよ。
Okay, about to go into something I thought I would have to say for a rant, so let me just get myself prepared here. That's a good shove. Who cares? Leo's character here is based off a mindset that is stupid and shows an anachronistic belief of women not being able to do the same challenges as men. And I'm putting this in the same context of the Leo and Sayla episode, wherein it's shown that Leo is the type to also let women win a fight, cause, quote, well, I mean, you as a guy can't just go full out on women, can you, end quote. Especially with that attitude or character being portrayed to us, the viewers, as what it means to be the pinnacle of man or to be a true gentleman. That comes from the idea that a woman is not as capable of the same effects as a man with the same training. Not we need to be aware of unfair treatment through the ages so we balance things out, so that uneven footing can become even footing. No. But instead, you are a woman, so you can't possibly be able to do this. I mean, for crying out loud! This woman is part of a mountain climbing club. We saw her and her mostly female friends climbing up this mountain. And Leo's response, to try and look cool, is to assume that her normal hiking gear that she always takes with her is too much for her. So he should carry it, or even her, as he dashes off the actual safe trail, cause now I know better. I know what someone might say in relation to Leo's can't go full out against women stance. But Jake, I mean, I'm not sexist, I just don't like hitting women. Does that make Leo not wanting to hit women a bad thing? And I say, that's all well and good. You have your own complex webs of feelings and experiences that shape your do's and don'ts. But fictional characters, be they in shows, movies, video games, songs, books, radio plays, what have you, are not individuals no matter how hard you try to pull it off that they are. Even when the material is about a pre-existing person, unless we are seeing a full range of their actions and beliefs firsthand without editing, just camera following a person and they are unaware of it, we will never get the full complex individual. But instead what the writer or editor or director wants us to see, a story that fits a certain arc, even when it removes aspects that make a person more complex. And that is the case with Leo here. Even against a fellow martial artist, he would not think to go full out against her purely because she is a woman. Meaning he, as a man, must not. No. Better to lose than to truly lose at being a man. The idiocy of such a stance is somewhat addressed by Sayla's want to fight him full out one day, but it's written so half-heartedly, so lazily, so generically, that it's part of the problem. And it's still frustrating. But let's get back to the show. Story is actually starting to happen, instead of just frustration at Leo. So after a while, Leo is convinced to slow down as Yuri asks him about Yamato, and shows clear interest, which, should not surprise you, does not please Leo. And then, attempting to shift the conversation to himself, they get snared by a rope trap. And this is why you let women talk about whoever they want to. Meanwhile, with the others, well, there goes that leg. So, because this episode's Leo is dumber than usual, he tries to play it cool after Yamato rescued them, and gets angry when Yamato points out that it was Leo's fault. Even more when Yamato asks Leo to have some consideration for Yuri, who is a normal person. This stupidity is broken up by more death traps. A lot more. Emphasis on the death part. This is Tom and Jerry level. Please be mud. They're attacked by cube heads and a swarm of moebas, revealing that there's a player on the mountain draining the land of its life. Arguably, another example of a villain who could have won by choosing to do nothing, as the group did not know about the player until Cubehead announced his existence. Heck, could even have kept the traps. can we stop making light of Tusk stepping into bear traps? Unless they're supposed to not be made of metal, it's not. Oh, haha, that must have hurt. Those things are dangerous. I should know. Okay, no, I'm just fooling. The fingers held down. I'm not gonna trick anyone like this.
頂上に何か仕掛けがあると思うんだけど。私たちすぐに動けそうにないの。あとはお願い。助けて。
And this brings to mind the issue that I brought up in the crossover episode. Again, if you find yourself surrounded by moebas, or any kind of Sentai grunt, you as a ranger are still able to use your communicator to call for help. As shown here where Anmu, all by herself while the others are still trapped in a net, is able to call Yamato to let them know that there's a player on the mountain. Yamato suggests that Yuri head off the mountain, but with the traps as well as being off the beaten path, she can't without help. So, Leo decides Yamato's to lead Yuri down the mountain, and he'd take on the player himself, feeling it's his fault, which it is. And he sets off more "are you kidding me?" death traps, by which I mean all of them, to where even he ends up in the bear trap on his leg, which of course disappears once he transforms. No, really, he transforms, we cut to the player, and then cut back, his leg is not in the trap anymore. After a bit of a fight, he gets knocked down a cliff behind him. Cut back to the others, and poor Tusk. Poor Tusk. Back with Leo, he wakes up from his fall, and when Yamato arrives, having led Yuri down the mountain, when she comes, Leo feels even worse because he couldn't do all the things all by himself. However, Yamato cheers him up by saying how good Leo is at being a meat shield, since his reckless running up meant Yamato had no traps to deal with on his way. And so, with new determination, Leo seems to recklessly attack again, only for it to be a ploy to draw the player's attention as Yamato flies up to pull the drill. To transform into his gorilla form and pull the... Seriously, just yank it. Okay. Pulls the drill out. Oh, and they defeat the player. However, when it grows giant, and they engage in Wild Jyuoh King, he puts up one hell of a fight. I guess this one mountain climbing player is somehow stronger than the killer robot, knocking their sword away. In desperation, Yamato grabs the axe rock, not only destroying a landmark from who knows how long, but also revealing it to also be a cube animal, a bear specifically. And so, with the bear axe, they defeat the player, and so our episode ends with the Birdman being nowhere to be seen, Leo deciding for Yamato, who has had no romantic interest in Yuri, that Yamato is to date her, and Anmu finally dragging out of Yuri that her interest in Yamato is solely that he reminds her of her pet parakeet. This episode's a mess. A buttload of a mess. That really, despite having good use of directing characters in the background, just fails for me. Be it going even further with the lameness of making Leo a stock, nah, but this is how men are character here in 2016, to the level of the death traps. Let's just go. Let's just move on to Ghost. Fumiba, the takoyaki stall owner, has passed away shortly after giving Daijob more moral support. And Yuki is still not able to give her last message to her father, who is either possessed or being controlled. It's unclear. now trapped working at Deep Connect, the corporation that Igor took over several episodes ago when the Picasso Ganma QB was first introduced. Also, Takaru is showing signs of reading people's past when connecting with them. He has 54 days of afterlife left as we enter episode 30, ANE, Kokoro no Sakebi, Forever, the Calling of the Heart, as opposed to a total eclipse of the heart. Our show opens with Daijob learning, mid-happy stride, of Fumiba's having passed away. We then jump to the temple team, who are informed of her death to distract from Houdini berating them some more.
何なんだこの感情は。心があるからこんな気持ちになるのなら、心なんていらない。
Not to belittle this understandably sad moment for Daijob, but it's Laharo from Disgaea 1. He said to stop stealing his bit. We cut to Fumiba's holy dear lord in high heaven. That's a ton of people for a takoyaki stall owner's funeral. Not to say she didn't have a lot of customers, just even to have the dead stay with us message, this is a bit beyond absurd. Daijob is baffled as well, but more that along with people crying, there seems to be joy as well, trying to have a smile against the tears, unsure of how one can live even after death in one's hearts. And, to make things worse, when the team gets back, Yuki has left by herself to Deep Connect, where she speaks with the Gamma-controlled boss. However, once the team get there, she's fine. And the boss is asking for help to save his company, which would be a nice misdirection, especially with an upcoming scene of Igor attacking the boss for seeming to help. Only we saw him get possessed by a Gamma icon. Cutting away from the actual possession scene doesn't mean it might not have happened, unless we're supposed to think, oh, well, maybe Igor just showed him the icons and said it's a way to improve his business. That's how he wasn't possessed, because that would make more sense after he saved the company from being a cubist nightmare. You think that because you don't suck at writing. You know, there's a real simple way Takaru and the gang could make sure. Takaru can do that thing where he expels Ganmas. We are never told he has to know there's one or that it harms humans. Just, when in doubt, purify. But no, we just trust a man when the enemy can possess others.
タケル、気をつけて。ひょっとしたらあのビルズって人もガンマに操られてるかも。
Or, you know, possessed by one just like last time a business was involved. So yeah, he leads them with keycard in hand, but they are stopped by Igor, and how did that make Gamma sneak up on the whole team? Even with Takaru there. Especially with Takaru there. Look at how narrow that hallway is! So yeah, the president gets hit, so everyone assumes, oh well, he's not controlled, all good. And Spectre engages the group. Yuki spots her father and tries to get to him, as Takaru tries to keep her from getting killed, grabbing her arm. And, just like when doing the pose with Spectre last episode, he sees flashes of memories from a third person's perspective. But yeah, we learn that the father died on his birthday. Once Yuki speaks to her father, he shows no signs of recognizing her. Because, I don't know, his ghost is possessed by the Gamma icon? And then Igor blows up the computer lab they're working in? Because reasons? Anyways, they escape. Back with Daijob, he may be wallowing in pain, but I'm not going to call this a pity party. This is understandable from someone who has lived without emotions for so long, feeling some of the more painful ones for the first time. The scenes aren't handled super well, but I'm not going to mock this show for one of its better moments. Back with the temple team, we do hear sirens in the background, so firefighters were called to the explosion at least. Again, not something you experience too much in Kamen Rider shows, when every monster explodes. Yuki has hit the I give up point of her grief, not wanting to go through any more pain of her father not recognizing her. Bills, the president, calls the team to continue the lie that he's working with them as we pan over to see Igor watching as they set a trap. We soon cut to Takeru trying to convince Yuki to try again, no matter how painful it may be, so she can share her final message with her father, using what memories he saw as a way to convince her. It would convince me to slam the door even harder. We then jump to Daijob, who gets a visit from the team to try and convince him to go out into battle with them. I swear, people have said heart less times in the first Kingdom Hearts game than these last 4 episodes. Before leaving, Kanon hands Daijob the clothes Fumiba gave him. Actually, I joked about Kingdom Hearts, but the background music is kind of similar. And so, despite not being told where the hideout was, and despite the others leaving before he did because he'd need to change his clothes and prepare takoyaki, or is that leftovers from the stall? Anyway, Daijob arrives, for he has come to kick ass and eat takoyaki. And then, after finishing his flashback, he is all out of takoyaki. He actually does pretty well even before transforming, and it's not like his mind is focused even on the fight. Once he transforms, Two Feathers, watching the fight from the Gamma world, sends out the Gun Miser to kill him. And yeah, he does not fare well against it right now. Still, after being knocked out of his suit, Takeru and Spectre arrived to help. What took them? And, with them as his witness, Daijob proclaims his new goal: to protect the treasures of their world and to someday make the Gamma world like ours. And so, the three henshin together and engage the swarm of Gamma enemies. So wait, is this the trap Igor was talking about? Or just the trap of thinking Bills is an ally? Daijob takes on the Gun Miser, while Takeru and Spectre remember, oh right, Kamen Rider, and so engage in some motorcycle fighting, with Spectre's motorcycle shooting chains out. I'd gripe, but I'm sure that's only doable after he convinced Houdini. Daijob starts losing power against the Gun Miser. Okay, now we might get some answers on how exactly his suit actually works and what source of power really is. Go ahead.
心の求めるままに。
あいつ限界を超えた。
Just raises further questions.
So, yeah, fight. Houdini helps, which allows Takeru the Grateful, letting him one-hit blow against the astronaut Ganma. Spectre deeps himself and blows stuff up. And, as a team, they triple rider kick the Gun Miser, blowing it up again. Very impressive and striking. Oh, also, Yuki's father is here. Don't ask me, the episode's almost over. Takeru, using the purifying symbol to release the Gamma icon, freeing the dad's soul, I guess, and allowing the two to finally have their last conversation. Yuki apologizing for seeming cold that day, and wishing him a happy birthday. Our episode ends with the heroes thinking that Deep Connect is no longer evil now, and Daijob, content with his new role as this world's protector. Oh yeah, this episode's dumb. Granted, a lot of Kamen Rider shows don't go into greater detail except for in art books and the like of how the power ranking of the different suits works. Remind me to tell you about the Delta Belt in Commodore 5 someday. But along with Necrom still making no sense, this episode just shows how bone dumb the characters have to be to keep falling for a trap this simple. Just purify! You don't know if someone's possessed or not? Purify! You don't have to take them on their word for it when you have a non-lethal, non-dangerous solution at your hand. Anywho, thank you for watching, and this week marks the start of this year's E3. Be sure to follow me on Facebook and join the event Caring About E3 to combat the growing level of naive cynicism against it. I'm Jake, and as always, stay safe. Now everyone knows the secret of what's in the cup when I say we'll wait. No, you don't. I do not always keep the same liquid in this. Really shouldn't drink as much. Still. Also, I'm using the wrong hand. Don't worry. We'll wait.